What's up, Jen? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to chat with you.
Yeah, this will be fun. Appreciate it. Let me just get this set up on here really quick. Okay, good. We're propped up, ready to go.
Looks
Awesome.
perfect.
All right. Nice.
I even got you
Nice.
behind me here, see?
Yeah, I see that. That's a little weird. I know. Seeing myself. Good deal.
Rocking the bass.
Yes, rocking the bass and screaming my head off. That's usually what I end
Exactly. No, I was gonna say when I was 3 seconds into the Rufflin Feathers song, I was like, damn, this song is gonna be fire.
Well, I appreciate that. It's a good thing I didn't screw it up after the fourth second. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, it was a
No,
good
you
time.
you wasted no time letting people,
No, we
hear
don't want
your
to waste time with
vocals.
that one. We didn't want to waste time with that one. No, the guys actually encouraged me. I'm usually like, let's get a really badass like a drum intro or like guitar intro, but they're like, nah, man, hit him with the vocals right away. So you can blame Ben and Johnny for that. So
Well, I mean, the vocals are an instrument, right?
fair enough. Yes,
At least
I
I
tell
hear
my
people
voice
say
students.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell my voice students that all the time that your voice is an instrument, and it's not just your vocal folds; it's your entire system, entire body. So that's yeah, absolutely. So
Nice. Are you teaching still these days?
oh yeah, definitely. I've been teaching for 8 years now, full time, and self-employed voice instructor. I've got about 20 to 30 students at a time usually.
Oh, nice.
And even through the pandemic, I've been able to. I was teaching about a third of my students online. Um, so before the pandemic hit, and then just after that happened, I've taken everybody online at this point, just for ease of logistics and just for
Safety
safety's sake
reasons.
as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, it worked out pretty nicely. I consider myself incredibly lucky, considering what it could be and how much worse it could be, because I know there's a lot of artists right now that are really hurting. So
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do, during these times. So yeah, you're definitely lucky. Yeah.
yeah,
And I want to talk
absolutely.
about the ride, which, I got an advanced copy, and I'm really excited for
Yes.
people to hear this. It's start to finish, it's a killer album.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished this in the past year or so recording that album. We had an awesome team um, helping us out. Grant and Carson Slovak of Atrium Audio have been phenomenal. All the studios that we recorded at were great. It was a super fun experience to record it and put it together. And a shout out to Howard Benson and Mike Plotnikoff as well, and Ted Jensen for mixing and mastering "Junkie for You" that's on the album. So it was a big project that just came to be. In I really, I, Even though it's been a year, which would be considered a large amount of time, it was done in a very short amount of time, considering how long some albums take. It was about, I would say it would probably, because we had it all spread out throughout the year, we didn't do it all in just like one chunk. We had maybe 3 or 4 days in the studio here and 3 or 4 days in the studio, there in like 2 or 3 months or so. It probably added up to be about a month of work and time that it took to get it done. So
Oh wow, really?
yeah,
And what about
yeah.
the ride? I have to say that song is a masterpiece. How long did it take to compose it?
Thank you.
And
Well, it's cool because it actually originated from two sources. One being a series of songs that I wrote after going to see the Foo Fighters with my wife now, my fiance at the time, uh, to go see the Foo Fighters with some family um, out in Camden, New Jersey, and it just ended up writing 9 or 10 songs that weekend just because I felt so inspired. And the ride, some of the lyrics from the ride were a part of that. And then Ben had this riff that he has had even before the band started. I think I think it originated in high school for him. So that
Wow.
at the
Oh, right in
beginning
the
and the end of
beginning,
the
yeah.
song is something that he has had in his back pocket ever since high school. And it was super cool that something that old was able to be married with something that's relatively new. And then we went with those two things. And I had demoed a chorus, which is what you hear in the final product. And we put all of those things together and decided that we wanted to make an epic song, much like what we did with our song, The Devil's Choir, on our album Reflection. We just wanted to go all out, no holds bar, no thoughts or limitations. We just go with it and see what happens. And that's what the ride ended up being. So I would say, collectively speaking, once we put things together, it actually took a relatively short amount of time to put it together, maybe about 3 or 4 rehearsals to get it solid. We demoed it a couple of times just to make sure that we had all the parts, but I would say about 3 or 4 rehearsals got it all put together. But if you add all all the time that it took for that riff to end up in a song and the time that it took for those lyrics to come to fruition, it did take a very long time to let the ride. So yeah. But it was a lot of fun to write, as I said, and it was kind of spooky to how much it correlates with how things are going right now, how much of a ride everybody's taking this year. The fact that those lyrics and the theme was written before it all hit and how it relates to everything. Johnny has mentioned in previous in previous videos how much he relates to the lyrics. Now, especially having gone through a really scary situation, which thankfully was a false alarm with his mom. We were all convinced that she had COVID because she was exhibiting a lot of the symptoms. So thank goodness she was able to make that through, and it ended up being not COVID. She tested negative. It was something else, and they were able to take care of it, and she made 100% recovery. So, which is
Oh, that's
awesome.
good to hear.
Yeah, but it's funny how things that you write in the past have different meaning and even more profound meaning as time goes on. It's almost as if you look back in hindsight as 2020. Oh my gosh, that piece of writing actually relates to this situation right now in a way that I never thought it would. So
yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know if you've ever experienced that or not.
No, I have. Yeah.
But yeah, it's certainly something. It's kind of like when you buy a certain type of make or model of car, and then you end up seeing them everywhere. It's like one of those things. I think it's like, I forget what it's called. Is it the Dunning-Kruger effect or something like that? I forget. But
no, anyway. I've had that before where I got a certain haircut one time, and then shortly after I saw like all these girls with the same haircut, and I'm like, did I start this trend? or like if you buy a new pair of shoes and then all of a sudden you see people with those shoes.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I've had like that before, and I'm like, is this just happening now, or has this always been the case where people?
Right.
I don't know. I've had that effect though.
Yeah.
Or I've had situations where I would listen to a song and the lyrics didn't really speak to me, but then I went through a certain situation and I'm like, wow, this song actually fits everything I'm feeling right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've definitely had that experience as a listener before where I might not dig a band as very much at the time that it like upon first listen, but once I go through something, you start actually relating to it much more after doing so.
Exactly.
You start appreciating the art a little bit more. Yeah.
Well, I also wanted to ask you about, how you guys decided to cover Sex and Candy by Marcy Playground.
That's a really interesting question. Ben and I are fans of a guy called Alan Stone, and he did an awesome acoustic rendition that was very soulful, very sexy, and we wanted to do something along those lines and give it a rock vibe. So it was just something we started doing at live shows just for fun. And for whatever reason, we decided, you know what? Let's record it in the same way that we do it live. Let's record it live off the floor. All of us in the same room, which is what we did for that recording, with maybe just one or two overdubs of vocals and an added guitar, without most of the bells and whistles that are present on the album. We just decided to have some fun with it and give it our own little spin and see what we could do with it. And it's a song that we grew up with too. Like when we were kids, we heard that song on the radio, and mom and dad would usually be like, "Oh, I don't know about this song. I don't know I don't know if it's the right song for you at this time, young man." So, so it was fun. Good times. The 90s were great.
Oh, I know. I'm always nostalgic for the 90s.
Absolutely. Yeah. Me too.
No, but I love your rendition of it. It gives it a different flair and kind of makes it feel like a new song.
Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of what we try to go for anytime that we cover a song. We try to avoid making a carbon copy of something, unless we're like trying to pay tribute to that to a certain individual in the band or the band itself in some way, shape, or form. And it's like, and doing it completely differently would actually dishonor the memory of said person. But usually, most of the time, we will try to put our own spin on things, because that's how you spark and create originality out of something that you're actually copying. You're adding your own spin to it, which then makes it more special for people who are listening to it as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And I want to ask you, I'm sorry. I'll let you finish.
I was just going to say, like the 10-second song guy. I was just like, have you ever heard of that guy?
Yes.
10-second song.
And he
amazing.
Yeah, he can do basically everyone.
He's so badass.
He does one song in different styles,
exactly.
A style of different.
Yes, every 10 seconds he'll do whatever song in a different style. So he'll take a Queen song, and the first 10 seconds he'll do it in the style of Queen, and then the next 10 seconds he'll do it in the style of Nine Inch Nails, and then the next 10 seconds
incredible.
Bob Marley, and then Metallica, and then all these other genres. It's fantastic. It's always fun to watch. So yeah, but that's a perfect example of taking something. Yeah, it's so cool. It's a perfect example of taking a piece of art that's already in existence and then adding your own spin to it. It's actually advice that I give to a lot of artists out there that are looking to make break out, at least in this current environment. Do cover something that people know and add your own spin to it. So
I agree. And what if who would you love to see cover one of your songs?
Oh geez. Who would I love to see cover one of our own songs? To be honest with you, I've seen videos of our fans doing covers of our songs. I've also seen friends and had students, and I'm just so honored by the fact that people even want to perform music that I wrote with my boys in the band, and that's enough for me. The fact that that the fans of our band are creating music that we are performing music that we created. That's awesome. So that's
definitely an honor.
And I've already experienced that. So it's pretty badass. I can't really think of, if another artist covered another major artist covered our music, that would be super awesome. And but I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
I know it's kind of a on the spot question.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's I can't pinpoint one artist that I would want to see sing our songs. But if they did, I certainly wouldn't object to it. It would be fun to see their interpretation.
Definitely. And how would you describe the ride so far in terms of the band? like the journey of the band as the ride.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah. I didn't know if you were talking in reference to like the journey of making the album, or just like our journey as a band in general. So,
because it's kind of like a ride, going.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, all kinds of roller coasters, all kinds of craziness along the path. It's certainly been a ride. It's certainly been a roller coaster, and that's certainly a way to interpret the lyrics of that song in particular, and the variety of which, like the places that we go in the album too. It's very rare in the album that we're playing songs in the same key, even musically. So there's a lot of variety.
Yeah, there's even like a country rock song in there.
Yeah,
9 to 5. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had previously recorded that on our first album, From Fight to Flight, but we decided to revisit some songs because and re-record them for this album because we're better musicians, number one. Number two, we've been through more experiences now, and number three, we wanted those re-recordings, since we're better musicians and have like the tools to make them sound better, to be able to get them to a wider audience. So that's kind of the reason. That is some of the reasons why we decided to do that. But yeah, that's a perfect example. We don't like to put ourselves in a box. If we can stay within the limitations, as long as we don't go like way off the deep end into something that is totally left of center, we try to mix it up. It's bands that we love and listen to, like Avenged Sevenfold, do it all the time. So we like to push the boundaries as much as we can. And but to come back to what you were talking about and what you were asking as far as the ride is concerned, there's definitely just like there's a bunch of variety in the album itself. There's a lot of variety in the ups and downs and upside downs and sideways of how this band came to be, how we ended up where we are now. And we dealt with some pretty heavy stuff early on. Like, we actually started as a 5-piece and ended up whittling down to a 3-piece just because of, professional and personal differences. Things got in the way for those other 2 members. And we even had friends of ours sub in to help us out. So like, even when we were, just the 3 core members, we were trying to like, feel out having a 4th and maybe even 5th member. But at that time, we just decided, what, I'm just going to get on the bass, start trying to get more proficient at it, because I had previously played bass in other projects and stuff like that. But I wasn't like a rock and roll metal bassist. I was just a guy that picked up the bass, and let alone trying to sing and play at the same time. That was definitely a challenge. So, we did make a decision to stay as a 3-piece, and it's one of the best decisions I think we ever made as a band, because we've been a 3-piece longer now than we were as a 4 or 5-piece. And it wasn't long after that we started getting the crazy idea of going out on the road without very much of a plan, very little promotion, very little idea of what the hell we were doing, and just roughed it. We were like one step away from being homeless.
Oh, no.
Just being so thankful. And what's so crazy about it is there's so many amazing talented bands that are exactly in this spot where the money that they're making gets them their next meal, gets them their next hotel, and gets them to the next town. That is what that grind is about. There's literally barely any profit. You really got to love what you do, and you got to work smart and work hard and pay your damn dues. I don't know what I can say or whether I can swear on your your program.
You can say whatever.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Fantastic. I just, the boys and I swear like sailors, and I don't want to disrespect somebody's program by just throwing F-bombs and whatnot all over the place. But you got to pay your dues as a band, and we're still paying our dues. We're not done yet. We're still putting in the daily grind, and that's something that does not change just because you find some success or find some some lucky breaks and some green lights, that doesn't mean that the work stops. It means that you
can't
actually
just put it
work
in
harder
cruise
and focus
control.
more.
You gotta,
Yeah.
keep
You
chugging
have
along.
something to maintain now. Exactly, right. So, but we definitely were in those spots where I remember specifically one night we were playing on a Tuesday night in Indianapolis, and there was like 5 people there, but we made $100 in merchandise because of the impression that we made on those 5 people. And we were so fucking happy. We were just like, yeah, we can get to the next town.
Right.
We broke even. And then, you end up, playing shows where making $1,000 to $3,000 in merchandise is something to be expected, and that's when you start pinching yourself and start like suffering from imposter syndrome. It's like, how the hell did I get here? What did I do to deserve this? This is crazy. I'm just a regular guy that loves to do what he does. Why didn't this friend of mine, who's way more talented than I am, get the amount of exposure that we did, and just for those of you who are watching this who don't know, and I don't know how you're gonna post this or whatnot, we as a band really got a lucky break with our rendition of You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. That's what brought us to the dance. That's what put us on the map. And what's so cool about what happened there, after we got back from those struggle tours, I will say, the struggle bus tours, because we were in a really shitty bus and that was driving all over the country. After those series of tours, we decided to really focus on content, then went back to a full-time job, and was pretty much like, I'm done with touring. I'm going to do this band for fun, but I'm just sick of putting in this grind for like pennies on the dollar. He can't, it's not, and he was totally right. It was understandable. It was just like what we were doing was not sustainable. So we focused on video content. We did a series of videos that the Grinch was a part of. We posted it up. It had some mild success when it initially was put up. It got us our booking agency. But then come 2018, it really blew up for us for whatever, well, no, not for whatever reason. Johnny put a lot of effort into learning about marketing with a company that we now work with called Indiepreneur, and they helped us out with a few things. And Johnny took what he learned from them and rolled with it and got us a ton of exposure with that video. And ever since then, it's been awesome. It's been great. People have been sticking around. And because we had all of this video content from before, when we were really focusing for that year and a half, 2 years, and we had just gotten a new manager. His name's Shill. He's the same guy that we've worked with for a long time. He's based out of Chicago. Great guy. And ever since then, focusing on the content, getting Grinch out there, it's just been awesome. It's just been so awesome. And it certainly had a lot of ups and downs as well. Touring is not easy. Touring is not easy. Running your own business it's very easy to get consumed by the business. It's very easy to do that. So I would say whoever's out there, wanting to do this music thing, be very careful what you wish for, because you better be obsessed with it and be willing to put in 15-hour days if necessary, because that may be the case for you. And it may be a very long time till you get a return on investment. It's definitely, there's a lot of delayed gratification when it comes to that. And tying this whole tirade, this whole rant that I've gone on here based on your question, it kind of all ties back to what the ride is all about. This full-length album, the first full-length album that we put out since 2016, this is a culmination of everything that we've been through as a band coming up to it. And I think it's really cool that we're releasing this album a few months before our 10-year anniversary as a band. It's going to be fun to see where this album goes for us.
No, I think it's definitely going to go places. From my opinion, after listening to it,
that.
If it doesn't, then the world is crazy. I mean, it already is, but
it's fine, and here's the thing: as long as it makes an impact on a few people and brightens their day, I'm satisfied. If a few people show up to a couple of shows that we end up doing in 2021, 2022, fantastic. I'm down with it. It's good. It's good. I'm happy. It doesn't mean I'm not shooting for the stars though with the band though. Give us stadiums if you want. It's all good. But if you don't, we're cool. We're going to keep doing our thing. As long as people are listening, we're going to make music.
Exactly. And once, tours happen again and live music can, restart, are there certain bands that you're dying to go on tour with?
It would be a ton of fun. I've had a couple of interviews here where Blackstone Cherry was mentioned, and I think it would be badass. I think it would be a fantastic fit to go on the road with Blackstone Cherry once they get things going again. That would be amazing. Foo Fighters, I would love to give them a call and see if they have an open spot. We'd play for hot dogs cool. and help them. And we'd be their roadies if they needed, if they didn't want to pay us for it. We'd and we could do them a favor, in whatever way or shape or form, or give them room service or whatnot. Maybe I can just go for beer runs for Dave because I know he likes his Jägermeister and his
I would definitely go see that show.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a fun time. So Foo Fighters, Blackstone Cherry, Royal Blood. We love Royal Blood as a band. They're fantastic. And Highly Suspect is another honorable mention as well. We definitely have a lot of fun doing that if the opportunity ever came up. So
very cool. And I just wanted to ask you a couple of fun questions about rock and roll.
Sure. Go for it.
What is the craziest or most memorable concert you attended as a fan?
The craziest, most memorable concert that I've ever attended. And I've seen a few concerts for sure. I've seen Foo Fighters twice. I saw Avenged Sevenfold, Motley Crue, Alice Cooper, Dave Matthews Band, Buddy Guy, Joan Jett. Okay, I'll tell you what. I've been to Rock on the Range. I've been to a ton of great concerts. I've had a ton of fun at all of them, but I'd probably the one that takes it home for me at least was a concert that I went to with Johnny right before we hit the road on the Struggle Bus tours. We actually we went to go see the Foo Fighters play in Washington D.C. on July 4th of 2015, and the Foo Fighters had an awesome band from DC, a brass band from DC. I forget their name off the top of my head, but they played in between sets. Joan Jett was there. Gary Clark Jr. was there. I got to see Buddy Guy for the first time live, and that was so awesome to see him perform and to see Joan Jett and Gary Clark Jr. It was so awesome. LL Cool J performed that day, and that was super awesome. That was so amazing. It was such an amazing mix of artists opening up for the Foo Fighters that night. And what's the biggest and coolest thing of that night was the fact that was the night. That night was the night that Dave debuted The Throne. It was the first show that he had performed ever since breaking his leg in Sweden. So we got to witness the throne that he was sitting on for the tours when he broke his leg. So he's just sitting on this badass Foo Fighters throne, and that was something that I'll never forget. I'll never forget that experience, and how excited I was to go out on the road, and how scared and terrified I was to go out on the road. But at least, I was going out with two of my best friends, and we were going to see how it went. And it was, So it was a very cool way to
kick things off.
Kick things off, yeah, as they say, the maiden voyage, right before the maiden voyage. So
that's fun.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first rock album you ever bought?
First rock album I ever bought. Well, the first one that was ever in the home was my cousin's band Live, Throwing Copper. Amazing album. Really made a huge impact on me as a youngster. Knowing that I had a rock star cousin that was, killing the game at the time. That was really amazing. And it's funny, some people say that I really look like him now with the bald head, which is hilarious. I'm not trying to look like him. It's a genetic thing. We both get it from our grandpa, Grandpa Weigel. You know, it's the genetic thing. All of the guys on the Weigel side of my family. Yeah, the grandpa gene, we all got it. We're all bald as an egg now because of heredity. So, but you know, having that in the house definitely made an impact on me musically. I had a huge variety of music, classical music. You know, got the pop albums, all that stuff. But the first rock album that I ever purchased with my own allowance money was Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory.
Yeah, I had that too.
Yeah, it was awesome. That made an impact on me for sure. And then it was the Scorpion King soundtrack right after that. So, which was cool. So, you know, that made an impact. That kind of started my journey towards rock and roll. And then I would say the next album that made such a major impact on me, because I had a few, you know, albums and movie soundtracks that like featured rock music here and there, you know, on CD. But the next one that definitely made a major impact on me and then started my road down classic rock, which is interesting because it was contemporary at the time, was Audioslave's self-titled album. Their first album made a huge impact. Chris Cornell's voice, it changed my singing. It changed my perspective on singing. It changed my voice. It changed how I approach singing, along with Robert Plant. So I used Chris Cornell and Robert Plant as vocal role models, and that opened up a ton of doors to The Who, Jimi Hendrix, Bob Dylan, you name it. And that's kind of like what threw me into that mix. Iggy Pop and the Stooges, all that stuff. So
yeah, definitely inspirational vocalist for sure. And
yeah,
so many
absolutely.
So many legendary rock stars have, you know, passed away, you know, in the past few years. It's crazy.
That is true. Like in the past 3 years, we've lost a lot of great legends. You know, Eddie being one of them most recently, which I mean, talk about virtuoso and a wild artist and a crazy man that made such a huge impact and was a genius in his own right. Really, really incredible stuff that he was doing with the guitar. It is always sad to see that whenever people pass, but you know, I think that people can find the silver lining in the legacy that they leave behind with their music and what they brought to the world. It's you know, it's kind of along the lines of the way that Jewish culture sees death. You know, it's at least some sects of Judaism sees death as not necessarily that there's an afterlife or that you go somewhere, that you live on through the gifts that you give to the world. So, you know, as long as somebody knows your name, your spirit still exists, you know, in some way, shape, or form. And forgive my ignorance. There's probably way more to it than I'm espousing to, but I love that idea that, you know, what you give to the world, what you put out in the world is a part of you and has a spiritual connection to you. And as long as your name and your reputation and what you give to the world keeps circulating throughout, it's kind of it's sort of a karmic payment to the universe, and then you get, like, you know, the return on investment by still having some sort of existence within the universe. I think that's a really cool concept, whether or not that's you know, real or not. It's really nice to think about.
It is, yeah. I like that. You know, they like to say legends never die, so yeah, you know.
Exactly.
They are definitely legends. Well, yes, before we sign off, is there anything else you would like to mention?
I would just, you know, direct everybody that's watching this to go to our website at smalltowntitans.com. If you go to stt.band/links, you can actually go to check out some of the stuff that we have going on. Right now, we're doing a pre-save campaign for the ride, so you can actually pre-save the album for your digital streaming service. You can sign up for our email list for a chance to win a raffle. And you can also listen to one of our songs early if you do pre-save the record for your digital streaming service, you'll be redirected to a SoundCloud link, a private SoundCloud link to one of our new songs called Let Me Breathe. So yeah. And then our album comes out on November 13th. And then we're doing a live stream to celebrate that the next day on Saturday, November 14th. And you can find that all at our website at smalltowntitans.com.
Very exciting. Well, I'm really happy to chat with you. And
yeah, Jen, this is great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. This was fun. I appreciate it.